Umuleri was a small town. In that town lived a man named Emeka. People shook their heads when they spoke of him. That one, they would say, it is women that will kill him. Emeka was handsome. He was tall. He was light-skinned. His eyes were bright like morning water. His voice was soft like honey. Women liked him. He knew it. He smiled like a man who owned the sun. He loved attention. He loved to dress fine. White shirt, clean shoes, sweet perfume. When he walked past, girls looked back. "Good afternoon, Emeka," a girl would say. He would smile. "You look like fresh rain today." "Buy bread from my shop," another would call. He would laugh. "If I buy bread, I will also buy your smile." His words were sweet, like ripe mango. They fell on ears and melted there. But he has a problem. And the problem was simple. Emeka couldn't stick to one woman. No matter how good, how beautiful, how loyal, he could not stay with one woman. Not today, not tomorrow, not even when he promised. Everyone knew his story. He had been married 3 times already. The first wedding brought drums. The second brought whispers. The third brought silence. Each marriage ended with doors closing and hearts breaking. No plates flying, no loud fights, just the quiet sound of a woman packing a bag. Little did Emeka know, all these women have a plan for him, something that will make him never cheat again in his entire life. The first woman was Alice, quiet, gentle, and soft like early morning rain. She was a school teacher from Auka, the kind that children loved and neighbors respected. When Emeka chose her, the whole of Umuleri rejoiced. "This one will calm him," they said. "She is good. She is patient. She will tie his heart with peace." The wedding was big. Drums rolled. Women danced with wrappers tied tight around their waists. Men clapped. Palm wine flowed like water from a broken pot. Children ran around shouting, "Auntie Alice is now Mrs. Emeka." For once, Emeka looked like a man ready to change. He smiled. He held Alice's hand. He even knelt before her mother, saying, "Mama, I will take care of your daughter. I give you my word." Mama Alice smiled, though her eyes searched his face like someone reading a warning in the wind. The first weeks were sweet. Emeka woke early to drive Alice to school. In the evening, he waited at the gate to bring her home. He cooked noodles for her sometimes, whistling as he stirred the pot. He bought her a gold wristwatch for her birthday. Alice told her friends, smiling shyly, "I married a good man." But good things in Emeka's house never lasted. By the 3rd week, the sweetness began to fade like evening light. He stopped coming to pick her up. He began to stay out late. His phone rang too often, and each time he smiled in a way that Alice didn't understand. One Friday afternoon, the rain had just stopped. Alice closed from school earlier than usual. She hummed softly as she walked home, the smell of wet dust rising around her. When she opened the door to their small sitting room, she froze. A girl, young, maybe 20, sat on Emeka's lap. Her dress was short, her laughter loud. Emeka's hand rested carelessly around her waist. Alice stood by the door. Her voice came out small but steady. "Emeka?" Emeka looked up, calm, unbothered. He pushed the girl off gently and said, "Alice, you are back early." Just like that, no fear, no shame, like a man caught but not sorry. The girl stood quickly, adjusting her dress. "Sorry, ma," she muttered and ran out, slipper slapping the wet ground. Alice stood still for a long time. Her heart was heavy, but her face was quiet. She didn't shout. She didn't cry. She just turned and walked into the bedroom. That night, She packed her bag, her clothes, her school files, her gold wristwatch. Nothing else. When Emeka came in later, he found her folding her last dress. He sighed. So this is it? You want to leave because of one small mistake? She looked at him, eyes wet but calm. Marriage is not a prison, Emeka. You have broken what I gave you. I will not stay. He laughed softly. You women take things too seriously. She zipped her bag. And you men don't take anything seriously enough. The next morning, her parents came. They didn't shout. They didn't ask questions. They just took their daughter home. When they reached the compound gate, Alice looked back once. Emeka stood at the window, yawning, scratching his head, as if nothing had happened. Her father shook his head. That man's heart is a clay pot, he said. It will break in his own hands one day. From that day, Umuleri began to whisper again. Have you heard? Alice has left him. And so soon? Just 3 weeks. I said it. No woman can keep that man. And Emeka? He walked through the market as if nothing had changed. He smiled at the women who stared at him. He still dressed well, still laughed loud. But the old men under the mango tree only shook their heads. They knew this was just the beginning. 1 full year passed after Alice left. And just when the town thought Emeka had learned his lesson, the drum started again. This time, the woman was Amanda. Tall, bold, and beautiful like a queen from Abagana. Her steps were firm, her eyes sharp, and her tongue carried fire. From the first day she met Emeka, she spoke her mind. Emeka, she said, looking straight into his eyes, I am not Alice. If you try nonsense, you will see something. Emeka smiled his charming smile. He took her hand gently and said, You are the one I've been waiting for. I am done with my old ways. Amanda nodded slowly, but her heart whispered, Let me watch and see. Their wedding was colorful. Music, drinks, laughter. Even the elders danced that day. Maybe this one will tame the lion, they said. For a while, it looked true. Amanda followed him everywhere. She cooked his favorite soup. She washed his clothes. Emeka smiled proudly at the market and said, My wife is a blessing. But sweetness in Emeka's life never lasted. 2 months later, one Friday evening, Emeka wore perfume and ironed his shirt. Amanda watched him quietly from the door. Where are you going? She asked. He smiled. Men's fellowship. Amanda nodded but did not speak. When he left, she waited a few minutes, tied her scarf, and followed him quietly. She took a bike and told the rider, Follow that blue car. The road led to a bright place filled with loud music and lights, a lounge. Emeka parked and went inside. Through the window, Amanda saw him sit beside a woman, rubbing her back and whispering into her ear. Her body shook. She stepped inside. The whole place froze. Amanda pointed at him. So, this is your men's fellowship? Emeka jumped up, eyes wide. Amanda, calm down. It's not what you think. She slapped the woman. Pa! Shameless thief, she shouted. Then she grabbed a bottle and threw it. The lounge scattered. People shouted. Emeka held his head. I don't know this woman. She's mad, he yelled to the guards. The next morning, Amanda packed her things and left Abagana. She didn't look back. People in town whispered again. Another one gone. Who will save that man? But Emeka only laughed. Women don't understand me, he said. They always overreact. Months later, fate brought him another woman, Salma, from Kano. He met her in Onitsha during a transport strike. She was stranded at the park, her face tired, her bag heavy. Emeka stopped his car beside her. Madam, are you going to Enugu? She nodded. Come in, I will help you. She hesitated. Then she entered. By the time they reached her destination, Emeka had already made her laugh. Within a month, he married her. Salima was not like the others. She was strong and wise. On their first night, she looked him in the eyes and said, If you cheat on me, Emeka, Allah will punish you. I don't play with such nonsense. Emeka laughed. You think I am one of those boys? I am a husband material. 3 weeks later, Salima found a lipstick mark on his singlet, red like blood. She said nothing. She just folded the singlet neatly and kept it beside his bed. That night, she smiled at him and said, Good night, my husband. Sleep well. Emeka smiled back, unaware of what was coming. By morning, he woke to the smell of smoke. He ran outside. All his clothes, shirts, trousers, shoes, were burning in a heap behind the house. The flames danced high, bright and angry. Salima was gone. He searched. He called her name. Nothing. Only ashes remained. Even Emeka started to fear himself. He looked into the mirror one evening and said, Is it me or the women? Maybe something is wrong with me. But after a moment, he laughed again. No, some women are just too emotional, he said, and poured himself a drink. The people of Umuleri whispered louder than before. The elders shook their heads again, and the wind carried one sentence from mouth to mouth. One day, that man will meet his match. Then came Amina, calm like still water, beautiful like the morning sun, and gentle like the wind that touched dry leaves. She was from Kaduna, far in the north. Her voice was soft, her eyes deep, her steps slow and graceful. When her father died, her mother sent her to stay with her aunt in Umuleri, a quiet place she had never been before. She came with one box, a small prayer mat, and her father's old scarf. Her aunt welcomed her warmly. You are safe here, my child, she said. Forget your worries and start again. Amina nodded. Yes, auntie. Inshallah, I will. Life in Umuleri was simple. Every morning, she tied her wrapper and went to the community well to fetch water. Sometimes, she played with children and laughed softly as they splashed water with their small hands. Her laughter was sweet, like the sound of beads falling on the floor. One hot afternoon, Emeka was walking past the well. He stopped. There she was, standing with her bucket, smiling at a small boy who was helping her with the rope. The sunlight rested gently on her skin, and her scarf danced with the wind. Emeka's steps slowed. He could not look away. He turned to a young boy standing nearby and asked, Who is that girl? The boy wiped his nose with the back of his hand. That's Amina. She just came from the north. From that very day, something stirred inside Emeka. He began to follow her with quiet eyes. He stood at the market corner when she passed. He waved each time she fetched water. He even went near the mosque gate on Fridays, pretending to greet people. But truly, it was just to see her face. He sent gifts, small ones at first. Fresh mangoes, perfume oil, a packet of sugar. Sometimes he would say to her aunt, Auntie, good afternoon. I just came to greet you. Please, keep this small thing. The aunt would smile politely, but watch him with suspicion. She had heard stories. At first, Amina ignored him. She didn't like men who talked too much. And she had heard the name Emeka, the woman chaser. When her friend Hawa mentioned him, Amina frowned. That one, I don't want trouble. But Emeka was not the kind of man who gave up. He greeted her morning and night. He helped her carry water buckets. He bought her roasted corn when she returned from the market. Amina Just one smile, he would say playfully. She would look away, pretending not to hear, though her lips tried to hide a small smile. Weeks passed. Rain came and went. And one evening, under the old mango tree beside her aunt's house, Amina finally sat down with him. The air was quiet. The crickets sang softly. Emeka said, Amina, I have met many women, but none have given me peace like you. Amina smiled shyly. Peace comes from God, not people. He nodded. Then maybe God sent you to me. She laughed softly. You talk too much, Emeka. Only when I see beauty, he replied. Her cheeks turned red. That night, she told her friends what happened. They screamed, Amina! That man is dangerous. He will break your heart. Amina only smiled. Every man has his weakness. If a man does not drink, he smokes. If he doesn't smoke, he may cheat. Nobody is perfect. I can manage him. When she told her mother over the phone, her mother's voice rose in worry. Amina, I know that man's name. People talk about him even here. Don't go and disgrace us. But Amina's voice was calm. He will change for me, Mama. I will show him love and patience. And so, despite all the warnings, despite all the whispers, Amina agreed to marry Emeka. There was no loud music, no street parade, no dancing till night. Just a quiet wedding in her aunt's compound. Family, prayers, and food cooked with peace. When the ceremony ended, Amina looked at her husband with hope. Emeka smiled back, holding her hand gently. He said, This is the beginning of something good. But far away, the wind moved through the mango trees, whispering softly, Let's wait and see. For the first time in his life, Emeka looked like a changed man. The wind that once carried his name through gossip now carried his laughter through peace. He stayed home. He cooked sometimes. He washed his car without hurrying to drive out. Even the neighbors began to say, this girl has done what no other woman could. In the mornings, Amina tied her wrapper, humming softly as she made breakfast. Emeka would walk into the kitchen, smiling. Move small, my wife. Let me help. She laughed. You? In the kitchen? Since when? He took the spoon from her hand. Since today. If I help you, the food will taste like love. Amina shook her head, smiling as he stirred the pot wrongly and still called himself a chef. He began following her everywhere, to the clinic, to the market, to naming ceremonies. He carried her handbag without shame, and when people stared, he only said, My wife deserves peace. When their names were called in gatherings, Amina smiled proudly. Emeka no longer sat at the bar, drinking and chasing shadows. He sat at home beside her, helping her count baby clothes, planning, talking. Women at the borehole began to whisper, You see that Amina girl? She used something. Look at Emeka, walking behind her like a small goat. Another woman added, It must be prayer, or fasting, or sense. At the mosque, old women called her aside after prayer. Sister Amina, please tell us your secret. How did you change a man like Emeka? She smiled gently and said, It's God and patience. A man listens if you don't rush him. They nodded in wonder, but in her heart, Amina knew it wasn't only that. There was something else, a secret agreement between her and Emeka, an understanding they never spoke about outside. It was made one quiet night, just before their wedding. That night, the moon hung low, silver and full. They sat under the mango tree near her aunt's compound, the same place they first talked. Amina had looked into his eyes and said, Emeka, I know your past. I know what people say about you. But if you want this marriage to work, promise me one anything. He held her hand. Anything. Say it. She said softly, if you ever go back to your old ways, I will show you what I can do. I don't fight with words, but I fight with silence. Emeka laughed lightly, brushing her cheek with his hand. My beautiful one, you talk too serious. I promise you, I will never hurt you. But Amina didn't laugh. Her eyes were calm and strong. Remember, Emeka, a woman's silence is deeper than a man's noise. He nodded and kissed her forehead. From that day, an unseen thread tied them, not of fear, but of warning, a quiet agreement that no one in Umuleri knew about. And for months after their marriage, peace lived in their home like a quiet guest who refused to leave. People began to believe in change again. If Emeka can change, anyone can, the palm wine tapper said one evening. The old man under the mango tree smiled, but said nothing. Because sometimes they knew, silence is not always peace. Sometimes it is just the calm before the storm. 9 moons passed, and Amina gave birth to a baby boy. They named him Chukwebuka, meaning God is great. The whole of Umuleri danced that day. Drums rolled, women sang. Even Emeka's enemies came to eat rice and drink palm wine. Amina sat under the mango tree, her baby wrapped in white cloth. Her aunt sang softly beside her. Emeka walked proudly from table to table, his chest lifted like a king. That's my boy, he shouted with joy. The sound of laughter filled the air. It was a day no one in town would forget. Days turned into weeks, and peace lived in their home like a quiet visitor who refused to leave. Emeka carried the baby everywhere, to the market, to the mosque gate, even to the bar. People clapped and said, Amina has truly changed him. Look at Emeka now, a family man. And Amina smiled with quiet pride. But as the months passed, the light began to dim. The smiles became shorter, the laughter less often. A cold wind slowly crept into their home. One evening, while Amina was rocking the baby to sleep, Emeka stood at the door. His eyes ran over her body. She looked up, smiling softly. You are home early. Will you eat? She asked. He folded his arms. You have changed, Amina. Her smile faded. Changed? How? You are not as fine as before. You have added weight. You are always tired. You don't even dress well again. Amina said nothing. She only turned to her child and continued rocking him gently. But inside her, something broke, like a glass that cracked in silence. The next few weeks were heavy. Emeka started eating out. He came home late, smelling of perfume that was not hers. Sometimes he lied easily. There was a meeting, he would say. There was traffic, he would add. But Amina knew. The wind around him smelled of lies. Then, one bright afternoon, her friend Hawa came running from the main road, breathless and frightened. Amina! Amina! She called from afar. Amina turned, startled. Hawa, what is it? Why are you sweating like this? Hawa caught her breath, holding her scarf tight. I saw him. I saw Emeka at the lounge with Patricia. Amina's hand stopped moving. Her face turned pale. She blinked slowly. Patricia? Which Patricia? She asked, though she already knew. Hawa swallowed. Your friend. The one who came during your naming ceremony. They were sitting close. He was holding her hand. For a long moment, Amina didn't speak. The sound of the baby's soft breathing filled the air. Then she smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was small, cold, steady. Don't worry, Hawa, she said quietly. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were not. I know where to catch him, And as Hawa watched her walk back into the house, she felt a strange chill in her heart because the woman she just saw was not the same Amina she knew. Something inside her had changed, and that silence carried the sound of a storm that was coming. That night, when Emeka returned, Amina waited. As he dropped his car key, she said quietly, Emeka, remember what we said. Remember our agreement. Don't break it. He paused, looked at her. Which agreement? She turned to face him fully. If you return to your old ways, I will show you what I'm capable of. Emeka hissed. Woman, don't threaten me. You think you can control me forever? I'm not threatening you. I'm reminding you, he laughed. I give you money. I take care of the baby. What else do you want? You want to cage me? She said nothing more, but in her eyes was a calmness that made even Emeka look away. One evening, Amina could not sleep. She felt a small nagging in her heart, like a stone in a shoe. She called Hawa. Keep the baby, please. I will be back soon. Hawa held Chukwebuka and kissed his forehead. Go, sister. Be careful. Amina took a bike into the night. The road smelled of dust and fried plantain. She rode quietly, hiding in shadows, watching the lights of the lounge like small stars. From across the street, she sat behind a wall and looked. There he was, Emeka, laughing, his hand close to Patricia. They were too near, their heads bent together like two birds sharing bread. Amina's heart turned cold, as if someone had poured cold water on it. She did not shout. She did not make a scene. She watched until his laughter filled the street, and then she stood up. She walked home slowly, carrying her baby, and sat in the dark until the sky grew pale. The house felt empty, though she had her child in her arms. Her mind was quiet, but it held a fire. In the morning, she went to her parents. Her mother took her hands and looked at her. We warned you, her father said sadly. You told us you would change him. Now go and change him. Amina nodded. She left without anger. Her voice was soft. I will try. She went to Emeka's family next. They sat and laughed like the matter was a small thing. He feeds you, they said. He pays the bills. What else do you want? Their words were like dry leaves. They fell and made no sound. And in Umuleri, once a woman gave birth, she couldn't walk away unless the man agreed. Emeka refused. I'm not divorcing her. What else does she want? Amina was trapped. The town mocked her. Her friends turned their backs. But Amina had made up her mind. If she couldn't leave, she would make sure he never touched another woman again. Not in this life. She said nothing aloud, but in her heart she decided, if I cannot leave, you too will not sleep with any woman again. That evening, the house was quiet. The air carried a strange calm, the kind that comes before rain. Amina moved slowly, her steps soft like a cat's. In her eyes was peace, but in her heart, fire. She walked to Emeka's wardrobe and opened the drawer where he kept his favorite clothes. She searched carefully until her fingers touched a familiar fabric, his red boxer. It was the one he always wore when he was meeting other women. The moment she held it, her heart grew still. She stared at it for a long time, her face unreadable. Then, without a word, she turned and went straight to the kitchen. The room smelled of soap and dried pepper. She took a small bowl and set it on the table. Then she reached for the basket behind the door where she kept her spices. She picked fresh red pepper, the hot kind that bites the eyes and stings the skin. She washed it, cut it, and began to grind. The stone met the pepper with a hard sound. Gar, gar. Soon the smell filled the air, sharp and angry, burning her eyes. But she didn't blink. She only pressed harder, her hands moving faster. When it was smooth enough, she poured a little water and stirred it gently. The mixture turned thick, red, and fierce. It looked like pain made into paste. Amina took the boxer and spread it on the table. She looked at it quietly for a moment, then whispered, "This is for every tear I cried. This is for every night I stayed awake, waiting for you." Her voice was calm, but her eyes glowed like hidden fire. Then, slowly, carefully, she dipped her fingers into the pepper paste. She rubbed it inside the boxer, focusing only on the front part. Her movements were patient, almost gentle, as though she was sewing her pain into the fabric. When she finished, she lifted it to her nose and inhaled softly. The smell was sharp enough to sting. She nodded to herself, a quiet nod of finality. "Now, you will feel what silence feels like," she said under her breath. She hung the boxer by the bathroom window to dry, making sure it looked natural, as if it had just been washed. Then she washed her hands, fed her baby, and laid him down to sleep. She sat beside him, watching his small chest rise and fall. Her face softened for a moment. She brushed his hair gently. Then her eyes turned again toward the door, waiting. Outside, the night deepened. The wind blew through the mango trees, whispering secrets to the dark. And somewhere far away, Emeka laughed loudly at a lounge, not knowing that the night he returned home would be the night he would meet the fire of his own doing. That night, the moon hid behind clouds. The air was heavy, quiet, and still. Crickets sang faintly in the dark, and far away, a dog barked once, then stopped. Emeka drove into the compound, tired but excited. He was humming softly, his keys jingling in his hand. He had promised Patricia they would meet at the lounge before 10. He couldn't wait. He went straight into the bathroom and took a quick shower. As he came out, he saw his clothes drying by the window. Then he spotted it, the red boxer. He smiled. "Ah, my lucky one," he said proudly. He reached for it and shook it lightly before wearing it. It felt a bit tight, a bit rough, but he was in a hurry and didn't care. He looked at himself in the mirror, adjusted his shirt, sprayed perfume, and winked at his reflection. "Still fine, still fresh," he whispered and laughed. He grabbed his car key and rushed out. The night air brushed against his skin as he drove away. At the lounge, the music was loud and colorful. Lights blinked like restless stars. Patricia sat in the corner, waving at him with a smile. She looked beautiful in her short red dress, her lips shining like wet cherries. "Emeka, you look nice tonight," she said. He smiled weakly. "Thanks." They sat together, talking and laughing, but Emeka's hand kept moving, first to his thigh, then to his waist. He frowned slightly. He felt a small itch, just a little at first. Then it grew. "Ah, what is this?" he muttered, scratching again. Patricia looked at him. "Are you okay?" "Yeah, maybe mosquito," he said, still smiling. But within seconds, the itching turned to burning. His smile disappeared. He jumped. "Ah, Jesus!" he shouted, clutching himself. Patricia stood, frightened. "What's wrong?" Emeka's face twisted in pain. He scratched harder, then screamed, "Water! Water! Somebody bring water!" He ran outside shaking, his legs unsteady, his hands trembling. People turned. Music stopped. He pulled at his belt, shouting again, "My body! Fire! It's burning!" Before anyone could stop him, he tore off his trousers right there in the street. Gasps filled the air. Women covered their eyes. Men shouted. Children ran. His red boxer was wet and steaming. A thick red paste stained it. Someone screamed, Pepper! It's Pepper! Emeka rolled on the ground crying, his voice sharp and wild. Water! Please! Help me! A waiter ran out with a bucket, but even when they poured water, he screamed louder. The burning would not stop. His skin was red, his thighs swollen. People stood in shock. Patricia stood frozen, tears on her face. No one could believe what they were seeing. The man they once called the fine one of Umuleri was now rolling in pain like a wounded animal. The smell of pepper filled the night, and whispers spread quickly through the crowd. It's his wife, someone said. Amina has done something to him. But no one dared to go near. They only watched as Emeka screamed and rolled, his cries rising into the dark sky like a warning. That night, the proud lion of Umuleri met the fire of his own making. While the night outside echoed with Emeka's screams, inside his house, Amina moved calmly. She was not shaking. She was not crying. Her face was still, her steps slow, her heart steady. She carried a small bag and opened her box. She took her baby, Chukwebuka, wrapped him in a soft cloth, and laid him gently on her back. Then she counted her small savings, the notes she had kept hidden in an old cloth behind the cupboard. When she was done, she took one last look around the room. On the table, she placed a folded paper. Her handwriting was neat, her words few but sharp. You said I cannot leave you. Now, no woman will stay with you again. She placed the note where he would see it, beside his car keys. Then she blew out the lamp, adjusted her scarf, and walked quietly into the dark night. The road was silent. Only the crickets sang and the wind carried dust. Her shadow followed behind her like a memory. She didn't look back once. At the lounge, chaos still ruled. Emeka was rolling on the ground, shouting, his voice weak and broken. People had gathered. Someone finally called for help. Take him to the hospital, a man shouted. Two others lifted him into a car. He groaned, his face twisted with pain. At the hospital, the nurses ran out. They covered him and rushed him inside. The doctor came out after some time, shaking his head slowly. His private part is badly burnt, he said. He may not function as a man for a year, maybe longer. His mother sat beside the bed, crying softly. My son, who did this to you? Emeka didn't answer. He couldn't. He just lay there, staring at the white ceiling, tears running down his cheeks. The man who once made women cry was now crying alone, his voice lost, his pride gone. The news spread through Umuleri like dry fire through grass. By morning, everyone had heard. At the market, at the borehole, in the schoolyard, the story rolled from one mouth to another. Some said Amina went too far. Why burn a man like that? They asked. Others shook their heads. He brought it on himself. She only gave him his own medicine. All women sat on wooden stools and nodded. When you push a quiet woman too much, she will burn everything. Young girls whispered behind their hands. That's what happens when a man mocks a faithful wife. The men of the town spoke in low voices. Some pitied Emeka, others feared him. A man who plays with many hearts, one said, will one day meet the one that breaks his own. Emeka stayed inside his house for many months. He refused to go out. He covered his face when visitors came. His laughter, once loud, had died. He never spoke of women again. He never looked at one twice. Sometimes at night, neighbors heard him crying quietly, calling Amina's name under his breath. As for Amina, no one saw her again. Some said she moved to Zaria, others said she went to her mother's village in Kaduna, but no one knew for sure. Yet, one thing was certain. The story of Amina and Emeka lived on. It was told in whispers and warnings. At night, mothers told their daughters, "Be calm, but don't be weak." And fathers told their sons, "Respect a good woman, for her silence is stronger than thunder." Years passed, but the tale never died. Because in Umuleri, no one ever forgot the woman who rubbed hot pepper on her husband's underwear and changed the meaning of silence forever. I hope you enjoyed the story. If so, please like the video, comment what you learned from the tale, share with friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more African folk tales just like this one. Thank you.